Well, I guess we'll give it a shot. We'll make sure everything is up and running. Come on, internet. Looks like it's going and working fine. Greetings all. How you doing? It's Max and we're back. Got some upgraded internet. Kind of wanted to do something to check it out and see how well the camera goes through and everything, you know. I went from like 1 megabyte a second service now to like 4 or 5 times that. So hopefully I can maybe upload to like do a multicast thing to where I can go to all these other channels other than YouTube. Yeah, how you doing? What we got here? We got Isaiah, we got Random Guy. Great. Well, we got 3 people here. So today we're going to cover. I actually wanted Frank here and been going back and forth. Eventually we'll have Frank over here. I'll be over on his channel and talking about, you know, the question had been brought up, well, if you believe in eternal security, then why don't you just kind of off yourself, right? Because heaven's going to be better than here. And it's like, I had never given any serious consideration to the question, because why would I want to do that? You know, and of course you can go into a big, long, deep discussion about that. Well, like, how would you feel if your kids decided to off themselves, you know, because we're children of God, right? Just because. And, you know, I'm aware of like people in bad circumstances and people are depressed and things, but it's like, it's God who gets you through those times. So to me, it's like, why would anybody do that? It's like, it's hard for me to even comprehend the question, which is why I wanted to have other people on here to kind of discuss and talk over the whole thing. So, you know, in light of that, I wanted to cover Matthew 25 and the story of the Lord who gives tenants of silver to his servants and then goes away for a while and comes back. If you guys are familiar with that one, and I'm going to give my take on it. I don't know if it's the one that people preach or not or what, because I didn't fully understand it for a very long time, because it's equating money and spirituality, and that just doesn't compute to me, right? It's just not something that I don't have money and spirituality even in the same ballpark, right? So anyways, we'll take a look at that. MD Bishop is here. Oh, is it Super Bowl today? Oh, wow. I'm competing with the Super Bowl. So I guess I'm pretty happy. I got a couple of people here. What, you're not football fans? Be interested to know they still have cardboard cutouts for people who are pretending to watch the game. I know they were doing cardboard cutouts for a while and playing tracks of crowds roaring when there's nobody there. I don't know. It's all just a rigged game, but whatever. Whatevs. So for anybody who's not familiar with it, we'll go into Matthew 25. And this is Jesus trying to relay some spiritual information out to people. And there's a couple of different stories in here that he goes through in Matthew 25. And this is also a passage that can be taken as somebody who says, see, if you don't do works, you get thrown to outer darkness, right? I don't take it that way, but you know, there are some of them, those out there who want to say things like that. So let's get into it. Matthew 25, and I'm going to, the story or parable or whatever you want to say here is verses 14 through 30. For the kingdom of heaven is as a man now remember, we're talking to Jews here. So I think kingdom of heaven is referring to the literal kingdom. Not positive on that, but for the kingdom of heaven is a man traveling into a far country, who called his own servants and delivered unto him his goods. And unto one he gave 5 talents, and another 2, and to another 1, to every man to his several ability, and straightway took his journey. So the man comes in and has his servants, and he pays them out and says, well, I'm gonna go away for a while. Here, you can have this much, you're having this much, and you're having this much. Now I equate this to as the servants are just everybody. They're going to, you know, the people who would say that this is you got to work for your salvation would say that these are all like in relation to all saved people. And it's like, no, I think it's just talking about people in general. So you're saying, because if it was saved people, you're saying that some saved people just get blessed more than other people for whatever reason? I mean, I don't know. I think this is like everybody, and everybody has their start, and everybody is given free will in life by God. Everyone has their stuff. And of course, people are born into different circumstances. Some people are born in third world countries, in mud huts. Some people are born in America. Some are born in communist capital Canada. Some people born in Australia, different circumstances. Some people start out with 5 talents. Some people start out with 1. Everybody starts out with life, at least, right? Then he that hath received the 5 talents went and traded with the same and made another 5 talents. So he took what God had given him and made it greater. All right. And likewise, he that received 2 also gained 2. He's out there working. He took what he had, and he's out there using it and spreading it and doing something with his gifts. And likewise, he that had 2 had to gain another 2, but he that received 1 went and digged in the earth and hid his Lord's money. This is the part that always confused me, because I'm thinking in money terms, right? I'm thinking in money terms, and I'm like, so you took the guy's money and you went to the horse track or something, and you made another 5, and then you get to the guy who dug a hole and threw the money in there. I'm like, well, at least he didn't run off with the guy's money, because I'm still thinking money stuff. You apply the spiritual aspects to it, it makes a little bit more sense. Where the guy who was given the gift of what he had and did absolutely nothing with it, right? He did nothing with it. He just buried it and kept it. And then he's like, look, I saved it for you. And it's like, congrats. You lived a life. You did nothing with it, nothing to glorify God. You lived a life. Congrats. Right? You did nothing with what you were given with your talents. Nothing at all with whatever. You watch the Super Bowl and every other sporting event, all through the rest of your entire life. You didn't do anything but look what you could do to get yourself. You did nothing with what you had. The spiritual applications of it. And so he that had received 5 talents came and brought the other 5 talents, saying, Lord, thou deliverest me unto me 5 talents. Behold, I have gained beside them 5 talents more. His Lord said unto him, Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of thy Lord. And he that had received 2 talents come and said, Lord, thou deliverest me unto 2 talents. Behold, I have gained 2 other talents beside them. And his Lord said unto him, Well, good and faithful servant, thou hast been faithful over the few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of thy Lord. Then he which had received the 1 talent came and said, Lord, I knew that thou art an hard man, reaping that where thou hast not sown, and gathering where thou hast not strawed. And I was afraid, and went and hid my talent in the earth. Lo, here is your talent back. Now I equate this to many things. As I just said, talking about people who just kind of waste their lives and don't have any sort of feeling beyond of whatever pleases me is kind of the whole of the law, and there's nothing beyond spiritually out there. Jesus isn't real, God isn't real, flying spaghetti monster kind of thing. Also, I equate that with when they say the servant said, Lord, you're a hard man and fearful. I also look at it like, well, that kind of sounds like a lot of these work salvation people, that are afraid to do anything because it might offend God or something. They make up all sorts of rules about things where there is no rules. And they think that it makes them a better Christian or more spiritual of a person to stick within these confines of like the Torah. We're going to stick within that. And it's obvious that you can't stick within that. So it's actually preventing you from going out and being fruitful. For instance, the Saturday Sabbath. You can't make anyone work on the Sabbath day. So Saturday, you're going to go out in the woods and sit in a tent all day? What is that preventing you from doing? A lot of things, right? So I kind of look at it like that. Verse 26. Well, verse 25 is, I was afraid and went my hidden talent in my earth. Lo, there is thine. Verse 26, his Lord answered and said unto him, thou wicked and slothful servant. Wicked and slothful. Guy's like, I kept your money, right? He didn't do anything with it. Didn't do anything with what he was given. Thou knewest that I reap where I sowed not, and gather where I have not strawed. Thou oughtest therefore have put my money to the exchangers. And then at my coming, I should have received my own with usury. So right here, people want to talk about, playing stock markets and banks and stuff. Here the Lord is saying, you could have taken my money and put it in the bank, and at least it would have made interest. Okay, this is the part of the things that completely baffled me with this saying about being about money and finances and all these things and talking about spiritual aspects, because the whole money thing to me is like, I don't know what you're talking about. But if you take the principles of the money and what's going on here, he's saying, look, you could have given my money to somebody else and at least made me a little bit, right? This is like where you could almost say like, and like donating to missionaries and things like that. You're not physically going out there and translating Bibles. You're not physically going out there to go spread the gospel in some other country. You can't do that because you don't have the time. You're not in the industry of doing that. So what do? You send $50 off to the guy who's going to go do it. Right. And some of that will come back to you. Okay. It's what he's talking about. I'm going to dig it. I'm going to take my blessings, my talents, my gifts, and throw them in a hole. All right. Now, how does this apply to, we were talking about earlier with, what point is there even continuing to live? Because I know that I'm saved and I'm going to heaven if I die. And it's like, well, you're going to be that guy who dug a pit and threw his gifts into it. And then you're going to get to heaven and be like, hey, aren't you happy to see me? All right. I don't know. It's something that really hasn't entered my mind in the context that it was brought to me as that, hard for me to wrap my head around. Verse 28, take therefore that talent from him and give it to him that has 10 talents. Okay. So you're taking what these unprofitable people have, and then you're adding it to your own. There's something about that where the meek or the poor that will inherit the earth, right? The people that are rich in spirit and all these grabbler guys that want to run the planet, right? Whatever they had, it's going to be ours. For unto everyone that hath shall be given, and he shall have abundance. But from him hath not, but him that hath not shall be taken away, even that which he hath. And cast ye the unprofitable servant into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. This is the part where you say, see, he didn't do his works, right? So he's going to hell. And it's like, well, if you're just talking people, like I said, this is a connotation of world and money. Okay. World and money, talking about spiritual things, but we're talking about relating it with the world and how the world works. So when people are given different things, it's like your lot in life. Some people are born into the Rockefeller family, right? And some people are born in a trailer park or whatever. You make do with what you got, right? So that's how we see that. I don't know if anyone has any anything to say or any input on that, right? Like I said, I kind of needed some other people around here so we could have a discussion about this idea that, well, I'm saved, so now I might as well just jump off a cliff and go to heaven. That idea, it's just not something that dawns on me. Doesn't look like we have anything yet. So I will read the question as it was presented to me. So in this case, it's like, why would you want to suffer along with misery if you know you're saved? For instance, cancer or something like that, when you know you have eternity in heaven waiting for you. And it's like, well, God put you here for a reason. And maybe you having cancer is part of God's plan. Who are you to cut his plan short? You'd have to make the argument that it's part of his plan as you often yourself. And I don't think you're going to win that argument. Right? That's where I look at that. And of course, we can always go back to like rewards of heaven. There's crowns that are given out to people in heaven based on, what they're doing, stuff like that. But it's like something like crowns in heaven has never been a motivation for anything that I've done. I don't sit around and thinking about, oh, I hope that got me a crown. I did another video, God. I get a YouTube award crown up there. No. I've always said that I'd be happy to be a ditch digger, Golden Street ditch digger. Fine with me. Fine with me. I know that I don't deserve to be there. Again, it's back to what reasons do people who believe in eternal security have to stay alive? Now, I understand that there's like a lot of depressed people out there and a lot of people who, especially in the current time where there's a massive psyop going on to wreck people's brains, okay, and make everybody really unhealthy. Jab them full of, I found out the old vaccination they want to give out isn't actually a vaccine legally. They just call it that. Interesting. But anyways, there's all that stuff going on. It's like, well, that's when you're supposed to run to God. That's not when you're trying to check out. Right. And that's when you can watch God make his miracles in your life. And if you spend a lot of time sitting and moping about all the bad things in the world, as opposed to doing something, you're falling into that guy who wanted to bury his talent out in the dirt, aren't you? Because you're not doing anything. And, maybe some people ain't going to want to hear that, but it's like, look, if you're going to sit around and be miserable all the time, doesn't that get old? Isn't there anything that's better than doing that? Even if you played video games all day long or something like that, that's still better than sitting and moping around and not doing anything, laying in bed or whatever, thinking about how bad the world is. Get a hobby. I don't know. I haven't been there myself, so it's really tough for me to really handle that. But it's like everybody gets depressed and everyone feels like offing themselves at some point in their life. And you work through it. You wake up the next day, it's like, brand new day, start over. What are we going to do today? Have a plan, have a purpose, have a point. What am I going to do today? Write a list. Just put one thing on it. One positive, one constructive thing. Something simple, right? Feed the dog, right? So you can cross that thing off the list. There, I did something. Read a verse of the Bible. There, I did something. Okay? Add to your list as the days go by. And focus on those things. And don't focus on sitting around going, oh, did you hear what Fauci said? Oh, can you believe Joe Biden's in there with marbles in his mouth talking about this, that, and the other thing, and doesn't make any sense? Can you believe, where's Trump? Don't worry about that stuff. Look at your list and do something constructive. I mean, while you're here, you may as well do something. May as well do something. You don't want to be that guy that's here to be the bad example for other people. The guy who's saved, but he's an example of what not to be. That's a pretty rough life. All right. That's a pretty rough life. Again, it was another comment about offing yourself, and it's like, well, what fun would that be? I mean, I never even consider that, because when you got the Holy Ghost working in you, obviously you're not getting that from the Holy Ghost. So who's telling you to do that? Right? I mean, like, honestly, I don't care if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, right? I don't think most Christians do. I mean, obviously people got, you're going to miss the kids and you want to be around and all this stuff. But if I get taken out, it's not like I'm going to have regrets in heaven, right? It's like whatever happens. I mean, this is the great thing with Christianity is you're not in bondage anymore. You don't have to worry about all these things. I already know where I'm going. There isn't anything anybody can do to me. I mean, you could take these worse scenarios that Alex Jones and all these guys want to throw out there. It's like, oh, they're going to have the FEMA camps and they're going to have this, and where are people going to be starving and the economy is going to be terrible and all this blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, yeah, well, I'm still going to be here. I'm still going to be like, God will get me through it. Have you no faith? Things kind of go in, I don't know. Things kind of come around, I mean, back in the old Depression, the last time they did this, what they're doing now, they did it back in the Depression era, right? People had a rough time then too. Then they come out, and then we had our big prosperous years, with after the World War II, where it became the world dominant leaders and stuff like that. But it's like, the hard times, you don't understand what the good times are without the hard times. And you don't actually get proof of God's existence without those hard times and supernatural help getting you through them. I don't know. I look at my own personal attitude is, what's going to happen today? Not what's going to happen today. No, so what's going to happen today? Find out. The other comment was, I have heard the teaching that God may take us out early. I thought, is this really such a deterrent? Our earthly life is taken from us, but more or less immediately replaced by eternal life. Doesn't sound too bad. Well, no. But let me read this again so I can speak clearly now. So, taking to heaven early. I have my blessings and curses video. If you're taken to heaven early, you're so far down in sin that you being taken out by God would be a blessing to you. You'd be doing that out of, obviously, unless you're hurting other Christians and kids and all this stuff, he'd be doing you a favor. Yeah, you get a lot of chastisement by the time you get down to that being taken out by God. And why would you want to live like that? If you have the Holy Ghost in you, why would you be doing that stuff? I mean, there are people out there that may be saved that have forgotten they're Christians, and maybe they've, seared their conscience or something like that. But this isn't us. This isn't people that are like actually interested in the word and actually want to know the truth, who actually want to get different ideas and opinions and explanations for scripture to make sure that it's all coherent and it makes sense to them. And people that seek out more knowledge about the Bible and about God and things. These aren't the people that God's taken out early. This is why it's like a left field question to me, because it's like, so I think about like, it's been taken out early, blessings and curses. It's like, why wouldn't you just go with the blessings, Honestly, the world kind of sucks, right? But if you want to dwell on that, you could also dwell on all of the positive things, and you always got to count your blessings, right? You always got to count your blessings. And yeah, you're going to have rough times when it's hard to come up with a blessing. You're like, oh, geez, I don't have any income anymore. The bills are due. The dog's hungry, right? Car broke down, right? But you get through that. And then without going through that little bit of turmoil, you wouldn't appreciate not having turmoil so much. You wouldn't appreciate the little small things if you have it too good. And, and that goes on and on down the road. When you help somebody out, they wouldn't appreciate it. I mean, like, if you give somebody a gift and they're a millionaire, right? Probably not going to care too much. You give somebody a gift who's down on their luck and you help them out a bit, they're really going to care, aren't they? Yeah. What else do we have here? Anyways, what do you guys think? What are we doing here? Are we having a second depression, Isaiah? Oh, we've been in the depression since like 2008. But unlike in 1920 or whatever, our dollar bills are back then they were backed by gold. So when you kind of ran out of money and inflated stuff, you actually had a hard crash right then, where now our money is based on nothing. So they just print more money. And that's how that goes. Isaiah says people like Dan Corner. I don't know who Dan Corner is. Act like going to heaven early and losing rewards even after sinning is not enough. I don't understand at all the idea that because you believe in once saved, always saved, you're just automatically going to jump in front of a bus and kill yourself. Why would you do that? It's just a foreign idea to me. Isaiah asks, how do you get blessings? Well, by doing good stuff. I don't know how you do. I don't personally think about it. I'm not a tit for tat kind of a guy. I'm not like, God, I made a video. What are you going to do for me? What are you going to do for me? Because that's how the prosperity gospel guys, those guys are somewhat right in that if you put money and you put resources toward forwarding the faith and forwarding Christianity and putting money towards, the church or God or whatever you're doing on that side of things, that stuff does come back to you. The Easterners call it karma, but if you're a Christian stuff, it's all God. But we're the claim it, name it, and claim it, and all of that gets it wrong. Is that it's all on God's timetable? It's not like, well, I did this, therefore I'm expecting a reward. It's more like, well, you did something and maybe God won't look at you and punish you so hard when you mess up. Okay. Or something else. I mean, there isn't any tit for tat. And they want to say, if you donate $1,000 to my ministry, God will send you $20,000. That's the way that they do it. And that's a total twisted manipulation of scripture. I actually kind of want to pull that up now. On my eternal security deal here. It's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do that. So, there's this whole thing here where, like, even if you're outside this bubble and you're not saved, the things that you do come back to you and will get you. And the things that you do good will come back to you and will be positives in your life. It doesn't matter if you're saved or lost. Difference is in a salvation bubble here. Okay. You've got God on your side, helping you with stuff on the blessing side. So the creator of the universe is got things moving to your benefit, as opposed to you doing it all more or less by yourself and making sure that you don't get outside this bubble with your shenanigans, we should say, because you're one of his children. Whereas if you're not in that whole salvation deal, then off you go. Be victim of your own your consequences of your own doing. Right. I don't understand why people wouldn't want the help. What did Jesus mean when he said, even the little he has taken will be taken from him? In the context of the whole reading? Well, he doesn't have anything to take, but the little bit that he has is still going to be taken. Whereas you think of, like, well, they don't have anything, just let him keep his nickel, right? It's like, no, he's a dirtbag. Take his nickel. That's how I took it. Age 412, Michael, God doesn't kill people for his own plan. What kind of a monster does that? Well, God will take people out if you're supposedly saved and you're out hurting little kids and you're out doing this and out doing that. Yeah. And God takes out people who aren't saved all the time. Okay. Why would you think that people are just going to be able to get away with everything all the time? No. What would be even worse is that if crimes went unpunished because you're a Christian, right? Right? So, like, a great example is David. David repented and felt really bad about killing his most trusted servant and stealing his wife and lying to the people and all that. He felt bad about that, so he shouldn't have been punished because he was a saved guy. That wouldn't be very fair then, is it? It's not very much of a true, perfect, just God there, is there? No, everyone, mess around enough to get taken out. Okay, that's how it is. Difference is you mess around enough and you're a saved person messing around, you're going to go to heaven. And who knows? You won't get any crowns or anything, or who knows? All right. Who knows? But to say God can't kill you, God's the one who gave you life. Why can't he kill you? Do I not have the right to, like, take my computer, throw it out the window? I don't know. It's mine. I have the right to burn my own house down. I have the right not to wear a mask. It's my stuff. DLC for Christ. How you doing, man? I'm doing okay. Doing all right. Watchman D. Watchman D tries to say we can offer God obedience and faith without works is dead. Yeah, they all say that. And, you fall back into that thing where it's Mathew 7, I think, where it's like, you can't point to me and say that without me pointing back at you. You point with your finger, you got 3 looking back at you or something like that. Because none of those people, it sounds good to people when they listen to it. But the reality of the situation is the person who is saying that is a complete liar, fraudster, hypocrite. Every single time. Every single time. Every single one of them, complete liar, fraudster, hypocrite. and they want to fight. Let's go after the people who think you can just get saved by faith. That's a good target. Let's go after the people that believe that Jesus paid it all on the cross. Yeah, that's a good target. I'm sure God's really going to bless my ministry. Those people are nuts. You got to stop watching them. God cares for his children and will chastise them. How does abandonment, salvation, loss have anything to do with our correction? I'm not sure what you mean there. Mathew 13:12. Well, in that particular verse right there, just reading that one verse, the people who have faith shall be given, and he who have more in abundance, and whoever have not shall be taken away even what he has. If you apply that to a spiritual connotation, is people who, the people who believe are going to get blessings. The people who actually work and do productive things and constructive things, and maybe help out the body of Christ every so often and be a cheerful giver, among many other things. I'm not going to sit and list off the things that people need to do to be a good Christian, because that's stupid and that's work salvation nonsense garbage. But people that do things and are grateful to God about the things that they have, they will get blessed with more. All right. And the people who don't have any faith and don't have anything in God, whatever they had is going to get taken away. You can't take it with you when you die. H412 Michael, so God just for killing a teenager for fornicating with another girl. Well, I doubt it. Why would you mention something like that? People get killed for all sorts of reasons. Perhaps some people's lot in life is to be that person who well, I don't even want to get into it. Anyways, hypothesizing about situations that don't exist and then saying what would God do about it and then asking me is pretty stupid. Okay? Not even gonna bother with that. This in lies back to, most Christians who are actually consider themselves Christians aren't going to be in the road where they get taken out by God. Unless they're really into some, usually like drug problems or something like that. Something that alters the mind, where they can be, controlled by demons a lot, or devils, or whatever. Evil spirits have a lot of influence over a person. And before they go out and damage somebody else, you're going to take them out. I don't understand why that would even be so hard to understand. But people that are in the faith and walk with God and read the Bible aren't very likely to be doing that stuff. And this idea that, because a kid fornicated with a girl, God's going to kill him. Where are you coming from? What crazy spider hole thing are you coming at? I don't rightly divide the word of truth. Oh, sure. Oh, sure. God trusted a person with earthly life, but their behavior made him repent and take it back. This also, the last comment on there is relating to like being taken home to heaven as being the ultimate failure and crowns in heaven and that kind of thing. And I don't really, like I said, I'm not a big crowns in heaven guy, and there's the rewards in heaven. If people want to know what it is, there's like five, I think there's 5 crowns, and they're all labeled in there as to what people are going to get when they go to heaven. You know, if you're out spreading the word, there's a crowd for that. If you're out giving to poor, you get a crown. And the people you're coming back during the 1,000-year millennial kingdom, you got people are going to be kings and priests in the new kingdom is the idea behind all that. And it's not something that I study or really specialize in. Like I said, you know, I'm fine being a ditch digger in heaven. Whatever happens, happens. Which is apparently a far better cry than a lot of people who just can't wait to go to heaven, so much so that they're just not going to do anything with themselves and feel bad all day and all night. You know, and it sucks, but it's like, well, it's better to do something than plant your talent out in the woods somewhere. That's just my opinion of it. People love to exaggerate and say that if you're good, God will bless you, and accuse you of saying God will give you $1 million. Well, I don't know. It goes back to that tit for tat thing, which, you know, on a grand scale, who knows? Maybe it could be, but you'll never notice it, right? You could have something great happen in your life and you don't know. It's just out of the blue, nowhere. You didn't do anything in particular. It's just, pow, here you go. You won $1 million. Does that relate back to something you did 20 years ago? I don't know. I'm going to say probably not, but I have no idea. But it certainly seems like the more wickedness and filth and kind of garbage you're involved in, it kind of seems like you pay that price just in life and the consequences and the things, and you could call it karma or whatever, but that just kind of seems the way that it is. And you can say, like, look at Rockefeller and look at Bill Gates and look at all these people, these terrible, terrible, wicked people that live to be 130 years old. You know, how come God hasn't taken them out, or how come this and how come that? And it's like, if you look at what a lot of these people have done, you take like Bill Gates. Well, he's guilty of making sure everyone has a Microsoft product in their computer. Okay. That's what he's guilty of. You know, but the vaccines, he's the vaccine guys. It's like, look, you guys voluntarily took those things that he's pushing. So he doesn't have any spiritual backlash for that. The dude just hands out poison, tells you it's poison, and you stick it in your arms. Hey, is that on him or is that on you? Who gets the spiritual crap from that? You know, just like usury, which is interest rates, is against the rules in the Old Testament when you're loaning money to another Jew. Well, you can go after the Goyim and have all these crazy interest rates. The Goyim are the Gentiles, right? And then, of course, everyone wants to be mad at the Jews because, you know, they own their house, or the Jews own their house and their credit cards, and they charge them all this interest and all this stuff. And it's like, well, you're the one who signed up for all that. You signed the mortgage paper that says you have a variable interest rate. You signed the credit card that says it's 105% interest. You did all that. You can't be mad at them, right? So a lot of the people out there that you would expect God to come down with his lightning bolts and take out, it's like, look, who's doing what and to whom? You have a serious problem in the last 20 years of people who just don't want to take responsibility for anything. And that's, you know, sad. Michael says, you never peach. 2 Timothy 2:15, or any Pauline doctrine for that matter. I don't know how long you've been around, but I talk about Paul all the time. We can look at 2 Timothy 2:15. Is that that's the one where you're fighting for the faith and apologetics. Isn't that the one? Maybe that's 3:15 in Peter. 2:15, study this so thyself approved. Yeah, workman that needeth not be ashamed, rightly dividing. Yeah, that's dispensationalism. I've been talking about that for 6 years. I don't know. Like I said, you must be new. Chew must be new. Do you think I'm a work salvationist or something? I don't know. I don't know. People like Kissinger are still alive because of adrenochrome. I don't really know what that is, but like I said, a lot of those people, these really, really evil. I mean, some of them I can't figure out, like Bill Clinton. Like, some of these people have some like pretty damning stuff against them. And I don't know what the deal is about all that. And that's God's thing of dealing with it. But you look at the classic examples of who people want to be mad at, what group they want to be mad at. And it's like, well, who's really, like in the case of Bill Gates, people are voluntarily taking the guy's vaccines. People are very voluntarily growing his corn and his GMO products. He didn't run around and just start spreading the seeds in all these guys' fields and saying, you're going to do GMO crops. It didn't happen. People volunteered. Michael says, of course, sin has consequences. That's because the flesh dwells nothing good. God is not the one that does the punishing. We do it to ourselves. Oh, it's both. If you don't think, if you're a saved Christian and God isn't coming into your life and either correct you or bail you out or do something, you need to either get closer to God or get saved. So it happens all the time. Recalibrate your monitor for your blessings and your curses. And, honestly, it doesn't mean just because your car breaks down, that doesn't mean God broke your car. It could. Maybe God stopped you from getting into an accident that day. You don't know. When it's something from God, though, when it's something completely random out of the blue, happenstance, coincidence, synchronicity kind of a thing. Never would have guessed in a million years that would have happened. Right? Isaiah says people love blame the one guy to be the ultimate evil. Yes. And that's, people are designed that way. Okay. People always need an enemy. I was watching the Dollar Vigilante today where he was playing other people's videos. And he had talked about how, and it was actually mentioned in the Batman movie with Bane too, where your success or your victory has defeated you. And every one of these world empire powers, victory completely defeated them. When there was nobody left to fight and they owned everything and they took everything over, they all got soft, right? They couldn't take care of themselves anymore. They're all really effeminate. They couldn't do anything but, sit on couches and eat grapes or whatever they did in old Rome or whatever these things. And they were defeated by their own victory, where they, all of their problems, they started, rather than fighting wars and standing up for truth and doing, courageous and real things. Instead, they're fighting for, so everyone can use the same toilet. We got to have unisex toilets. We're going to fight for that. I'm going to make sure that I can inject my 4-year-old with hormone blockers because my son one day decided to put on a doll dress. And so now that must mean that they're really a girl. And now we can hormone block them, right? We can argue about these things. And we can argue about whether or not, Trump should be excommunicated and driven away to Spain or Brazil. And when we can argue about that, we can argue about the Super Bowl, right? We're not going to have the argument of whether or not, abortion should be legal. We're not going to have an argument over, whether or not we should have all of our industry in China. That's kind of a lot of work, but I want to fight somebody. I can point to that bad man over there, and he's the reason that there's so much bad in the world. It's nothing that I'm doing. Walmart's the problem in the world. As you sit there eating your Doritos and all your crap food that you get from Walmart, right? They're the problem. It's the tiny hat people that have your mortgage and own your house that you're paying into, that you have all those problems with. How dare they charge me so much interest? How come they won't give me another loan? I only have 3 mortgages and only 2 boats. I need another boat to go with my other mortgage. It's all those people's fault. Right. Lack of responsibility. But it's nice that you get down the younger generation actually sees it. And that's good. That's a good thing. Michael says, you don't like vaccines? Yeah, no one does. I've learned today actually on the Jeff Berwick thing, Dollar Vigilante, for anyone who wants to check him out. And that's on Library/Odyssey. I know I mentioned that I'm on Odyssey and people don't know what it is or what library is. LBRY. If you go to lbry.com or whatever it is, or odyssey.com, it's a video hosting platform that uses cryptocurrency to pay people, and you can tip people, and that's what it is. It's just a video hosting platform, and you can go to either one of those. They run on the same stuff, and that's where the videos go. And if you want to see Dollar Vigilante, he was talking about how we have Ted Kennedy Jr. and a bunch of other doctors that are on a Skype call and discussing this thing about the latest vaccines out there. They say, all of them said, we got to stop calling it a vaccine because it doesn't fit the actual medical definition. It's not a vaccination as to like protect you from anything. It's actually a mechanical device. It fits the definition of a mechanical device because rather than give you immunity to corona, it actually helps you create a pathogen in your body. And it's like messes your RNA up and all this stuff. And it's like, so yeah, that new one they got is not even a vaccine. But if you want to wear 4 or 5 masks or wear the entire box of masks on your face, go take that vaccine thing. And more parking for me, right? More parking for me at Walmart, right? Yeah, go take that stuff. I'm done mourning stuff. How you doing, Bacon Toast? Yeah. Yeah, the thing is, and I'm not gonna, I'm kind of done talking about the whole COVID thing, but the problem here is with it is they can't prove that it exists, right? So they have a test for something that they cannot prove exists, and the guy who created the test said it can't test for coronavirus, which is all of them. It can't tell you if you're sick. So your PCR test doesn't test anything. They can't prove that COVID exists because you have to do a poxcopulate test for viruses to classify them and all this stuff. And they can't do that. So they're developing all of these treatments for something that they can't prove exists. I don't know, man. Sounds like a good idea. Go get your vaccine. If you want to believe in all that, go get it. Go get it. Oh yeah, 6 months of development. Perfect. You go take that experimental thing. That's all I got to say about it, and people who have two brain cells to run together obviously aren't going to go do that. And people with a half a dozen brain cells can figure out that the whole thing has nothing to do with some fantasy thing, out there that's killing everybody. I wish I had it up. I actually had the schedule for that, and it's hilarious, where it says phase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the 10 stages of who is going to get the shot. Who is the people that really, really need it. Maybe I'll even do that. And it's like, it's a perfect picture of like the people that they kind of have said they want to get rid of, where you've got the people that are in old folks' homes, and below that, anybody over 65, and then anyone who is between 16 and 65 and is infirmed. In other words, people who have a little autism going, we can get rid of them. And then next down the list, then we got people younger than 65 to 55 and blah on down. And so, and it's like, yeah, don't give your old people, don't wheel them up for that. But, I mean, a lot of people have already abandoned their parents in the homes anyway, and they're going to get what, it's too bad, but too bad for the people who don't have a choice, but there's nothing I can do about it. So I can either sit around and feel sad, or I can talk about it on YouTube and say, yeah, you're dumb if you take that. That's my choice. All the work salvation people would really be in trouble, though, if they said that, taking that thing was a sin against God or something, right? Some of those people do. I think it's Mormons, where you can't have that, or is it it's Jehovah's Witnesses? No blood transfusions and vaxes or none of that stuff. Yeah. People should feel bad or be ashamed for getting or not getting. I don't know about ashamed. I'm not going to think highly of people that get it. My choice. Scott Wells, how you doing? Same people that thinks Biden's a legit president. Yeah, I watched that too. For anybody who's watching and doesn't know about the My Pillow guy from Minnesota, there has a documentary that has the factual evidence for the whole thing about what happened there in November 11th. And I knew about a lot of it, right? It's literally in the courts. It's been going on in the courts ever since then. The news media won't cover any of it, but it's way worse than what I thought. And the reason that they have so much data and so much proof about the stuff and the shenanigans going on there is because it was already set up to trap people, because they tried doing all this in 2018 or something. I think it's 2016 or 2018. There was a lot of irregularities. Must have been 2016 when Hillary was running. And they had a massive investigation on it back then. And this time they set up all sorts of little snares, so where they can watch for it. And they have just mountains upon mountains upon mountains upon mountains of evidence that basically other countries injected whatever they wanted the votes to be. So, hey, so definitely worth a watch. The guy's Mike, I think it's Michael Lindell Jr. is the site. It's actually on his name's site. And as soon as you go there, it pops right up. If you want, it's like an hour and a half long interview with a bunch of people about what they have. And yeah, it's astounding. And this could go either one of two different ways. Is like, either we're going to have it really bad in America, if you want to be part of the system, right? If you want to be part of the whole sis boom ba rah rah, God bless America. If you want to be part of that crowd, you're going to have a real rough time here in America, because the system is gone. And the people who are really involved in that and really involved in the politics, they think it's all real, and really involved in all of the government and these social programs, they think is all real. And it's not. It's just a control box, right? They're going to have a real hard time because the government's out of money. But what also could happen is that the courts could do the right thing and some people could come out and people can get arrested and we can have a little bit of a rejuvenation. So it could kind of go either way. And I'm fine either way, guys. I can't control any of that stuff that happens. You can't control any of that stuff that happens. You know, take the talent that you've been given, right, and go do something with it. And let the what's going to happen in the courts and all that stuff figure itself out. Trust me. One thing I know for sure is Trump's not going to be your savior, even if he's back in. Yeah. Yeah, the link, Michael J. Lindell, is the link that's in the chat right now if you want to go check out that. It was to the point where they actually tracked voter packets because they knew that they were going to rig it. They tracked individual voter packets to the servers in Germany to back with the change data all over the country. It's like it's a complete slam dunk, but you know, we'll see. It doesn't matter. Like I said, it doesn't matter if the reason that now we're going off totally sidetracked to a total far out thing, but you know, guys, the reason that the truth gets out there for these things, even if nothing changes, is because it gets rid of that load. You know, it's like, oh, we told you this is what we're doing, and you let us do it anyway. You know, we told you. You can't be mad. I mean, it's not like they're swindling you. I mean, they're kind of defrauding you, but people go along with it. And it's like if you go along with something you know to be wrong, you're just as guilty as the person perpetrating it. So that goes back to another reason why God's not laying the smackdown on a lot of these people. If you're going to go along with it, I told you this is what I was going to do. You don't have a right to be upset about it now. We told you back in 2016 that it didn't matter who you voted for. We told you. You didn't do anything about it. What, you're going to cry now? Right? So that's how it is, guys. That's how it is. Michael's having fun in the comments. Michael asked me if I've ever taken a vaccine. Yeah. You got to get them to go to the indoctrination camps when you're a kid. The difference is when I was a kid, you only had like a dozen. I'm pretty sure it was a dozen. And now you have a dozen like the first hour that you're born as a child. And I think they have something like, it was 36 the last time that I checked over the course of the first 18 months. And I'm pretty sure it's higher than that now. And now you can add the COVID thing on there. And yeah, so it's not the same now as what it was when I was a kid. Back when I was a kid, it was just a minor scam and the minor medical scam that they ran. And nowadays it's a full-blown industry of scam. Back in the day, I actually had good doctors that knew about all that stuff and they wouldn't let me get vaccines. The doctors wouldn't. Or like tetanus shots and some of these weird ones that are out there, they wouldn't allow me to get them because they had some sense. They didn't tell me straight out why. They just said they didn't think it was a good idea and that I probably didn't need it. When are you going to hear that from a doctor today? Never. You can go in there with a runny nose and they'll have 5 or 6 different prescriptions they want to give you. Not one of them is going to be vitamin C. Totally different ball game now, man. It's not 1980 anymore. How you doing, Victoria? Isaiah says he likes that, insightful. That's what I try to be, right? I don't know. I appreciate it. I really, really, really wanted to stream and try out my internet and see how it's going, but I'm trying to like go around to see if I can team up with people on these particular topics because I don't have a ton to say. I'm kind of like going through things and kind of discovering it myself and showing how I see certain things. But when you're talking about like I said, I'm going to jump off a building because now I'm saved forever. It's like, what? That stuff doesn't compute to me. And I understand depression and I understand being in a bad place and I understand um solitude and loneliness and all these things, right? And I understand being even suicidal or something. But as that being like the go-to thing over the long course of time is to be like, the world is terrible. I'm gonna get out of here and all this stuff is like, it, to me, is not something that I've had to deal with and not something that I'm familiar with. And always your first answer to a lot of things that you can't figure out should be God. It should be all the time. Even things that you know how you're doing should be your first answer to just about everything. Okay. And that's the role that I go. And it's like, I don't know that I'd always been this way. Obviously, before I was saved, I wasn't that way, but I still wasn't anxious to go jump off a building or anything like that. I don't know. Everyone has their own talents to work with, man. Everyone's got their own talents. I guess I got a little bit more of a talent than the next person did. I don't know. Oh, now we're all trying to get me kicked off YouTube. All these shenanigans, and I think I've mentioned before, my last live stream is that it's kind of a blessing that I got black boxed on YouTube, because then they kind of leave me alone with all these other crazy ideas that I have for entertainment purposes only, right? All those other crazy ideas that I have and my crazy opinions, and they kind of leave me alone. DLC for Christ. The answer to your question is yes. 100%. Save JT says you're not taking them because you found out what's in them. Yeah, the side effect for the jab they want to give you for this new thing is death. So, yeah, if you feel fine, obviously you should go down there and get that. And then if you die, the person who gave you the shot can go, well, we told you so. It was right on the back of the box. Do you understand now why God is not dealing with the wickedness in the world? Okay? Because the wickedness is there because of the people. You got some wicked guy up there going, hey, would you like this poison? Can I just put this poison in your arm? And you go, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And you don't, people get tricked. You know, you don't have the karmic load. I have no other better way to call it, but you don't have that load of that. You have that gullibility thing, right? Where you get involved in something, you don't even realize it's a sin. And then you find out that you were a part of something bigger. That's this massive, horrible thing that you didn't want anything to do with. Well, God's not going to take that on you because you didn't know anything about it. But once you know and you continue in that, yeah, your life's going to be pretty messed up. Maybe not even necessarily from what God does to you, but from what you do to yourself. Realizing you're taking part in it, which is what's going on right now in America and all over the world, is all these people are driving themselves crazy because the cognitive dissonance in dealing in this cartoon world where they don't know who to believe, and all they can do is pick teams, and they go, I guess I'm a Democrat. I love Joe Biden and I hate Trump. And they have no idea what's going on. And they're all huffing on their masks and this, whatever. They're out of their mind. Okay. Because they're honestly like children, where everything has just been so peachy keen and I've just been in my safe bubble my whole life. And now Now nothing makes sense in the world. Dr. Fauci says this one week, and then he says something else the next week. And Dr. Fauci said that masks don't prevent COVID. Then he says that you should wear 4 masks. I just don't know. I just don't know. It's like, well, why are you listening to Dr. Fauci? There's your answer. Why are you listening to them? Why aren't you finding out things for yourself? And it's no wonder that people get wrapped up in all these different cults. You know, there are some of them, I'll say, some of them make coherent, logical sense, and they're not that bad. Someone gets wrapped up in something like Seventh-day Adventism, it's like, well, whatever. If it makes them happy to do that. But it's because nobody wants the truth. Nobody wants to find out these things for themselves. No one wants to know whether or not these things are true. They want somebody to tell them and speed food them like a little baby bird. Nom, nom, nom. Give me my whatever. Give me my scripture. Nom, 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 you know? And I'm not talking to the people, obviously, who watch me, because if you're still here, you know my attitude about stuff. All right. But 90%, when they say you can't go to a church anymore, those guys, right? 1 in 1,000 churches is a good church, right? Whose responsibility is that? Well, we got to blame the pastor because the Bible talks about pastors making merchandise of people. And it's like, you're going to blame the pastor. So you didn't know anything that he said was wrong? You didn't think it was odd he was hanging out with all the women in the choir all the time? You didn't think that was odd? I mean, come on. Yeah. Anyway, my little tirade about that. You know, one of the most probably empowering things and strengthening things for a person's resolve and a person's attitude and a person's self-esteem is taking responsibility for things, even things that you don't have to be responsible for. Everybody is trying to get away with something, it seemed like. At least, you know, I shouldn't say everybody, always, whatever. Just a lot of people get by with as little as they could possibly do, as opposed to just, you know, being responsible for a little bit and then being, well, that's my job. That's my responsibility. Doesn't this look perfect? Look how good of a job I did. Right. It's maybe and I spend a lot of time on the computer, guys, but maybe people aren't used to it. And like people spend too much time on Facebook. They think that's the real life, right? Where if you friended a few people and you texted back and forth with some friends on there, that was the same as getting together for a barbecue, or that was the same as going and playing volleyball or going to the beach or whatever. It's not. Okay. And maybe it's that it seems like you've done so much because you visited so many web pages or you talked to so many different people on the Facebook. I don't know. Isaiah is talking about Mark of the Beast going to turn people into Nephilim type creatures. Well, what it says about that is it will be as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the coming of the Son of Man. So what that means to me is the playing around with the DNA a bit. Because when you talk about Noah, the reason he was on the boat was because he was perfect in his generations, which I believe was talking about his genealogy. And I'm not positive on that. Honestly, my views have changed sort of to the fact that I don't think they can really do too much. I think that they pretend they can do a lot of things like clone people and this and that and the other thing. I don't think they can do it. I think that God put a block on a lot of that stuff. Otherwise, why wouldn't we have cats crossed with dogs? Right? There's supposedly laws against messing with people like that and creating your minotaurs and stuff. I don't think they can. I think that God cut that off. It says in the Bible that he did. I think if people had the ability to do that, we would have crossed all sorts of animals by now, just for the fun of it. So I don't know. Um, I'm going to have to revert back to the old days of Noah one, probably just being as wickedness abound, because there's going to be no Holy Ghost here anymore. Save GT says, I think they're getting ready for the mark. I'm not. I'm not even going to get their stupid bank account they want to give everybody. They replaced the word giant with Nephilim in these new translations. I think that's who it says that they were. I mean, I suppose I have to say this every time, but the new versions aren't Bibles. They're just books. Okay. They by law cannot be God's word. You say, why don't you read the NIV? Why don't you read this? That? Because by law, they can't be God's word. They cannot be scripture by law. It's called a copyright. $8 years on Facebook. Yeah, I was on there. I still have my main account that I look at once every 6 months, because all of my my high school reunion thing is on there. But that's about it. I mean, it's easy to get addicted to too. Because I used to work in an office job right when Facebook came out. Facebook's not blocked on the computers. You just hang out and twiddle away on that all day when you're supposed to be working. Yeah, I mean, it's just when I know when I want to spend time on the computer, I want to do it. Like if I'm going to play a game or something like that, I try and do something constructive and get it out of the way, or try and, if I want to learn about a Bible teaching or something, or watch Dollar Vigilante or something like that, I'll try and like play my game as I'm trying to learn something or something like that. So I'm not just doing that all the time, because it's really easy. I mean, I remember playing a really good game you just get, and like 4 or 5 hours had passed, you wouldn't even notice it, right? And I'd imagine it's like how Facebook is, because there's always more interactions coming in from here, oh, guess who just got online? Oh, what are you up to? Oh, I'm just sitting here chatting on Facebook. Oh, yeah, this person's over here too. Did you see this? Did you see that? And yeah. And it's like, if I'm going to spend a lot of time, I want to try and treat the internet more as a tool than as kind of a, what do they call it? I don't know, cake, right? Playtime or something like that. I mean, obviously I do both, but I don't have television or nothing, and I'm a grumpy old man. So that's how that is. And it's like, you got to look at it like this too. And I'm not saying you're evil if you're on Facebook, or you're evil if you look at YouTube. I'm saying, like, you have all of the world's information. Well, you have all of the world's information they let you see, right? In the palm of your hand, or on your computer or on your laptop, and you're using it to like send memes back and forth to your friends. And that's all you ever use it for. You don't go up and go find out what happened in World War II, find out what happened in the Civil War from places other than your grade school textbooks, right? That's just my thing. That's just my thing. Michael says the rapture will happen before the tribulation, so why are people so worried? Well, yeah, it will, but it's not going to be easy. Like I said, it's not going to be like we're all going to be rocking and rolling like today, and then tomorrow's the tribulation, right? No, it's going to get really bad before that time period hits, like really bad. This is why I said, I mean, this is nothing. The people that are thinking about, well, everything is terrible if I just jump off a cliff and then I know I'm going to heaven. It's like, you got the wrong perspective. I think you need some guidance from God to tell you what you should do, and go do that. Yeah, I mean, the tribulation time, even just right now, I mean, people talking about the tribulation is like, look, are you guys already acclimated to the fact that people are walking around like zombies with face masks on? Are you already acclimated to the fact that we don't have an economy in America anymore? Are you already acclimated to the fact we hear stories about in Canada and about in Australia where you've got the goon squad outside your door making sure that you only leave for a half an hour to walk your dog every day? Are we acclimated to the fact that the the country is printing trillions upon trillions of dollars, and the cost of a piece of lumber is quadrupled in the last year? You you think this is you're acclimated to this, you're used to this, and you're ready for things to really start going? It's like, no, we're already in there. Okay. We're already in there. Yeah. Like I said, there's a lot to do right now. I mean, now, you know the whole show. I think in one of the live streams I talked about 2020, where they're showing you that the elections are fraud, and they're showing you COVID's a fraud, and they're showing you all of these things are frauds, right? They're showing you point blank, here's your choice. You want to run with us in the narrative, and we'll set you up in a smart city, and we'll get you on universal basic income, or do you want to go do your own thing? Here's your choice. You got your red pill, blue pill thing, and that's where people are at. And if you don't have enough to do and you're thinking about, everything sucks and I want to go be in heaven, it's like, well, you got a lot of work to do. Or you got time being depressed. There are so many things that need to be done. And that's just, yeah. Brian Dunglinger. Yeah. He's still around. That he is. Yeah, exactly. DLC was like, yeah, at the end of the day, we're in Christ. We don't have anything to worry about. Does that mean that you're not going to go through some trials and some hardships? Of course not. Likely, some of the trials and hardships you go through are to make you a stronger, better person and to influence other people. You don't know sometimes why you're in positions that you're in. You're there for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. I know it's what do you call it? A trope or something like that. But you have no idea how the things that you do in your life might impact somebody somewhere else. If you took 5 minutes out of your 12-hour Facebook session and looked up some scriptures or Facebooked a Facebook friend to pastor and had a chat or something, I mean, how much better would you be off? Quite a bit. Just taking a small portion of time. It's like I said, you start small and you put one constructive, positive thing on your list for the day and do that and cross it off. And then you go about your day. And then the next day you might have 2 things on the list or something different or reoccurring, and you cross it off. There you go. One day at a time. Right. Exactly what seeds need to be planting, because you don't even know. I never find out about anything until way after the fact, right? Like I've been on here 2013, I think. 2013, sometime around there, doing all this stuff. After the fact, I hear about what happens. But people are like, oh yeah, you did this thing here and there. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't even remember talking about that, but cool. I don't know. It's not going to stop me from doing it. Nor is it why I'm doing it. It's like, yeah, I do it to, hopefully straighten some people out, give them some insight into scripture, answer questions, right? If people aren't, if there isn't like a huge wave of people getting caught up in something, then I don't feel like I need to have anything said about it, right? I've been talking about work salvation and this dispensational salvation deal because a lot of people are involved in that in this crowd of King James Bible believers, right? So I talk about that quite a bit, but not too much else, right? Dealt with Watchman D and whatever. I mean, that's all works stuff and deal with eternal security here and there, but for the most part, it's like, oh, somebody has a question about this and about what the scripture says here, and I'm like, oh, either I can answer it off the top of my head and I'll just shoot it back to him. Otherwise, it's something that I learn and grow too, where I'm like, oh, well, I have to take a look at that because I don't actually know. We'll have to grow together. I'm not looking for a tit for tat. I don't think that anybody that's involved in doing this really is. As far as this, and that's even a good question that I really can't answer as to like, why am I doing this? I felt like it would be important and I wanted to do something. And I talked long times ago about how you can work for Christ in even small ways. You know, I mean, it's not everybody's calling to go out there and go start a YouTube channel. It's not everybody's calling to go out there and go preach on the corner. You know, maybe you got some money, you can help somebody else do it, right? And you can do small things. Hand out gospel tracts, you know. For me at the time, doing a YouTube thing, I'm the kind of a person I'm one of them apologetics guys, right? So I'm already like, no, you're full of crap. You know, that's kind of an apologist is like, so going after heretics and saying where they're wrong is right up my alley, you know, and that is the best format for doing that is on the internet where everyone can take sides and fight it all out, right? Because that's in us. We always got to fight about something. Yeah, I don't know. I think it was just because it was something that I could do that, you know, I'd always have a computer. Like writing is another thing that I could do where you'd always have a pencil and paper. It's really, really, you know, can't make much of a career out of writing anymore though, but whatever. I'm not really making much of a career out of YouTube either. This thing got me in the little black box. Michael asked, have I ever read the KJV from Genesis to Revelation? Yeah. Twice. Back to back. The second time I skipped Deuteronomy, I think. Where so-and-so begets so-and-so, begets so-and-so, begets so-and-so, begets so-and-so, begets so-and-so for like 20, 30 pages. Yeah, I don't think I've skipped that. But it, you know, does it really matter? No. I mean, I couldn't even tell you how many times that I've read the Bible because audiobooks every day for years, listening to it all the time. You know, for people who aren't aware, I'm kind of mostly homeless. But I had a little MP3 player. And reading it in many different versions in the Quran and the I don't think I have read the Hadith, or if I did, I don't own a copy of it. And then you've got the Apocrypha, right? And those books. Yeah, so I'm pretty well versed. And then I got, you know, read the books that was part of schooling that go all the way back to like the 1600s, right? The early Christian scholars in the late 1600s had to read that for schools and write reports on it. So yeah, I'm fairly well versed in my Bible stuff. Doesn't mean that I'm right 100% on everything I say, but it knows that I have the ammunition to make arguments about things. Is it Leviticus and Mike? Yeah, it's Leviticus or Deuteronomy. One of the ones that, yeah, it's nothing but so-and-so begets so-and-so. And this is how we set up our feast. and we've got to burn the cow a certain way, and then that whole thing is I don't need to know how to do that, because we live in the New Testament now, the dispensation of grace, so we don't need to worry about how we're preparing a sacrifice. Right. Native Soldier. Denlinger is a punk. Yeah, I haven't watched the guy in so long. I think I watched the most recent one was something he did like a week or two ago. I caught where he said he's leaving YouTube or something. I don't know. Good for him. Good for him. Get off YouTube. I think that's a fantastic thing that he should definitely follow up on and be totally rid of YouTube. I support him 100%. 100%. The new covenant, you like the steak well done? Well, yeah, that's kind of the thing is like you look at all these rules and all these things the Jews had in the Old Testament, then you get to the New Testament, they said none of that did anything for you. All right. I mean, and you know, people don't want to hear that the works that they did back then were like kind of in vain. You know, they did something at the time. It was to show that they're wicked and sinners and show that they couldn't follow the law and that they needed a sacrifice all the time. There was no time in the history of the entire Jews' entire civilization that they ever didn't need a sacrifice. Like the old sacrifice came around, and the heads of all the families would go and do the sacrifice to cleanse the sins of the family. There was nobody who just stayed home and watched football that weekend, and we're like, nah, we're not sinners. We haven't done anything wrong this year. We don't need to go to the sacrifice. There wasn't any of them. And the people now that talk about how you're a sinner if you don't, I'll always pick on Seventh-day Adventist, you know, if you don't show up at church on Saturday. Like, what? I'm like, what? Yeah, I definitely support Denlinger. You know, I consider the guy sort of my enemy because, you know, he did some very dastardly, dirty things. That is something sort of like a jilted lover would do to somebody. And I keep, you know, expecting to see sort of lewd photos of me that he captured when I was sleeping show up on the internet. That's how much of a dirtbag I think this guy is, right? But I don't wish any ill will toward him. I just want him to get off of the internet, right? And go off somewhere else and not be around in what we got going on. And it, you know, as it turns out, it looks like all of us are probably getting kicked off of YouTube. But, you know, it is what it is. And other places, you know, I could be like, oh, woe is me. What am I going to do? Or I can just go to someplace else and redo, you know, if I'll just start fresh with a new channel. You know, it's not really about the subs and the popularity or whatever. It's about getting the message out there and having it done. And then if somebody needs to hear it, God will make sure that they hear it, right? I'm going to do my part and put it out there and make it easy, right? Make it easy. I do as much of that as I can. You talk about easy things you can do is like, I got obviously if you live in an apartment or a rental, you can't do this, but you know, I got one of them free library box things, lending library things, and just put Bibles in it. Now people around here, I think we've had the same Bibles in it for a couple of years because people aren't, but it's in there, and there's some kids' books that are religious material, and then there's gospel tracts in there, and then there's regular books too, of course, you know, to keep the traffic up. But if you don't own your place, you know, if you're in a city, they're all over the place, right? That's a nice, easy, simple way. Doesn't cost a lot of money. They used to sell King James books for $1 each at Dollar Tree, which I don't think that they can do anymore. I think you have to get just the New Testament for $1, but that's what I used to do. You get 20 of them, box of them. Simple things, man. You know, think about these great grand ideas, and I'm going to go join Greenpeace and all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, something small is fine. You know, just instead of just take time out for 15 minutes from the phone and read a verse of scripture and think about, how that impacts your life, or how you can relate to that. And yeah, like I said, the one that we were doing, what was it? John 8, is it 14? No, it's not John 8, Matthew 14 through 30 or something. Whereas this is like a story that I didn't relate too much because it's talking about money. No, it's not. It's not Matthew 13. Matthew 25. How did I not catch that one? So anyways, I didn't understand it because it was a story about money, but looking back at it and reflecting it and thinking about it, it's like, oh yeah, what you have, if you don't do something with it, God's going to be disappointed in you. So you want to go, oh, I'm saved now. Good. I can go jump off a building. It's like, well, God's going to be pretty disappointed in you. Would you be kind of disappointed and kind of sad if your kid offed themselves? Oh, just saying. But you're given gifts, right? And obviously not everyone is, I don't want to like blow anybody's minds, but not all people are created equal, right? Not everybody can be born a billionaire and have 150 IQ or 200 IQ or 3000 IQ. Not everybody can be a superstar football player, 7 feet tall. Not everybody can do those things. We are not all equal. And we are born with different strengths and different weaknesses. And if you were talking this relation of talents to spirituality, some people are born, with this is what you get and let's see what you can do with it. And you're expecting they can't really do much. So if they do anything with it, you're like, yeah, good job. Whereas some people have the whole, they're born with the silver spoon and they got everything, but then they squander it. You'd be more impressed, with the person who is starting from, they always are. It's the underdog story. It always goes back to David Goliath thing, right? Where the person who doesn't have much and comes from nothing really rises up and takes the bull by the horns and all that. Nobody cares that Jeff Bezos just made another $700 billion. Nobody cares because the guy already has 700 billion. How much more does he need? It's not a very big accomplishment to make money when you already have all the money in the world, right? So obviously you have a higher expectation for the guy with hundreds of billions of dollars to make more money than you would somebody who's living paycheck to paycheck. And you compare those two guys and you got the guy paycheck to paycheck goes, I managed to save $25. Actually $25.68. I have some change in my pocket. And then you go to Jeff Bezos and Jeff Bezos is like, well, in the last week I made 70 billion off of short selling AMC. Right. And then you compare that and you go, well, obviously Jeff Bezos is the better man because he made $70 billion and then you only made $25. There is no comparison in that. On the portion of the man's income, the guy who came out with $25 is probably way ahead of Bezos on the scale of things, on the percentages. Anyways, you always want to yield and profit something, right? You always want to come out with more than what you came in with, came into the world, like sort of basically like middle class and didn't get any real handouts or anything all of my life. So I kind of an even slate with everybody else. The people that I was going to school with had their colleges paid for, even my brother or whatnot, they had their colleges paid for and their whole road already kind of paved. Right. I didn't have that. I'm not crying about it. What is that? Victory has defeated you, right? You get everything handed to you. The second you get a struggle, you just don't know what to do. I need to call daddy and tell me what to do. I need to go to the doctor and tell me what to do. I need to go to my shrink so they can give me some drugs so I can deal with my conscience, right? I may not be rich, but I don't have any of them problems, right? So, yeah. See, I eventually got us all the way back around back to Matthew 25. Eventually, it comes full circle. Like I said, anyone, or who may be watching after, maybe not watching now and sees it later, who wants to talk about the particular topic of, the once saved, always saved, and continuing on, despite knowing you're being saved, continuing on in a terrible life, or what you perceive to be a terrible life, or in pain or suffering or something or whatever, and having a discussion about that, shoot me an email at maxbauerproductions@gmail.com, or leave a comment here or up on Library or wherever you happen to be seeing this. And that'd be cool. I was hoping to have Frank on here, but he's been busy. He's been busy. Michael says, I think in order to thrive in this world, you just have to not go along with the system. Well, people can thrive in the system too. Read God's word and don't take vaccines and be independent. Well, systems are put in place by God too. The system is to control the people who aren't moral. That's the reason why there's so many laws and so many rules and so many regulations is because people can't control themselves. You've got a whole group of people out there whose entire thing is, how can I get around the rules? How can I get around the rules? Yeah. You got a whole group of people out there like that. But the system is put in place for your benefit, and nobody makes a better example of that than Paul. Okay, when they wanted to kill him, and he's like, no, I'm a Roman citizen. You got to take me, under the law, you have to go and take me to Caesar. And look, that's how you do it. Just because you're a Christian doesn't mean you don't participate in the world. Okay, yeah. You're not going to become a part of and an integral cog in the world. But yeah, most people are going to have bank accounts. Most people got 401ks, right? That's part of the world, part of the system. And yeah, it's kind of one of those things everyone has to deal with. You give to Caesar what's Caesar's. I don't know of any way, especially since they took property rights away, how anyone would ever not be in any way, shape, or form part of the world, or not have any interaction with it. Maybe other countries out there, but not in old America. Not in America. But I mean, it's certainly, I'm not saying, yeah, it's not bad. Don't take the vaccines. Now I'm just saying you can be a good Christian and still partake in politics. If politics was not rigged completely, if politics wasn't based on a tit for tat, insider trading, a bunch of evil people, then there's what would be wrong in being in politics? There's nothing, right? A Christian can be involved in that. It's just that it's such a clown show right now, and it's such a it isn't the way that they told me it was in school. Yeah. Everyone's got to have a job that's involved in the world, right? So, yeah. The biggest thing is that you need to think, and don't trust people. Don't trust people. You don't trust anything you see on television. They call it tell-lie vision, right? They call them programs. They flash it at 60 hertz into your eyeballs to make you and then you turn on the news and there's nothing but blinky, flashy lights all over the place. Pow, 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 pow. Be afraid, be afraid. Pow, pow, pow. That can't be good, right? I can't even. I mean, it. Some days I'm probably better at it now, but some days I couldn't watch the news for 30 seconds because I would get so angry at the amount of lies that I was watching that it blew my stack. Now I kind of laugh at it. But see, I haven't watched television like regularly, like actually turned on the television and had it on for a time in 15, more than 15 years, 20 years, somewhere around 20 years. I haven't watched television. I mean, I watch movies and yeah, I watch YouTube videos and things, but like broadcast television, like it's on and there's nothing you can do about it. Long, long, long time. Yeah. Dilly Gill says you need to be involved in the real world and not just and part of a community, not just YouTube and screens and television. Yes. Or if you're having, I mean, it's hard to do right now because of the whole COVID nonsense, but that's the reason that the coffee shop exists, is so people can be on their computers but still be around other people. And then there's a chance you might actually talk to somebody. But no, it's definitely not healthy. And I'm guilty of that like 20 years ago too, is never went anywhere and was on the computer for like 8 hours a day, every day. Never like moved from the computer. It was work to the computer, bed, work, computer, bed. It's not, messes your brain up. Even taking your computer to the coffee shop and the chance interaction, you might say hi to somebody or talk to somebody, is way better than that. Morning here in the UK. Woke up from a bad dream. Oh, it's too bad. There we go. Well, we got some positivity going on. So we don't have many TV watchers. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Turning the TV off to go hiking. There you go. I'm going to start panning gold. That's what I'm going to do. In the summer, if we don't have zombie apocalypse by then. I'm watching Dan Hurd on YouTube, who's a professional gold miner and prospector who owns like all sorts of huge machinery and has mining rights all over the place for all sorts of different things, not just gold. But when he goes and does gold, it always comes down to one thing. You know, he could have the machines breaking rock and he could be using a caterpillar. He could be using all these things to sift, like to dump the rock into the waters so you can sort it. But at the end of all of that, it always comes down to a pan. Always. So it's like, okay, how do I get a gold pan? And like, you can buy the whole kit of everything you need on Amazon for like $60. And I'm like, oh, hell yeah. We're going to go pan some gold, man. We're going to go pan some gold for some fun. I grew up off of St. Croix River, sorted by Stillwater. And there's gold there. There's gold in pyrite, which is fool's gold. And there's some other, things that are worth some money. So it's like, yeah, how much is that hobby going to cost you? $50, right? These are the kind of things when I say, you can't sit around and just be depressed all the time. You got to do some things. Go be out in nature with God, right? That's one thing that Denlinger was right about, is you do need to go spend time in nature and look at how great everything is. Okay. Don't look at the television. Look how bad everything is. You got to go outside and look how great everything is. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, we're going to be panning gold this summer. We're going to be panning some gold. And it's not like the cheap starter kit too. I looked very carefully. It's the exact same pan stuff that he used for like $60. So it's like, yeah, all of that heavy machinery and $1 million equipment, and for gold, at the end of the day, it always comes down to a pan with some sand in it and some water. Okay. And yeah. Yeah. Mike, you ask what if I get on my wife about wearing the mask? Well, she knows. But like I said, there's a difference between having to wear a mask for your job and voluntarily putting one on or putting one on your children. And that's a decision, that's an independent decision that she makes. And I have my opinions about a lot of that stuff. Okay. And that's how that is. That's her deal. And we do it as safely as you possibly can with all sorts of stuff to push the mask out and really thin masks and as much as you can get away with. And that's how you have to do it. There's always a way around the system. Okay. There are always a way around the stuff you don't want to do. Okay. Buy Bitcoin. Every time that I say that or even briefly mention crypto, it goes up by like $5,000, guys. Not here to give investment advice, but the dollar has been inflating at like 15% since last year, and it's going to inflate more because they printed more money. So the cost of goods is going to start rising. And one on the positive note with that, for on the crypto side of things, is like, well, what do you do with it when you have it? Well, MasterCard right now is in the works for trying to make it so you can pay your MasterCard bill with Bitcoin. And when that happens, you can buy anything then using it. So that's out there coming down the pipe. Yeah, I mean, we do what we can. I mean, if you're there to work at a place, you can put up a stink about it and you can do this and that. That's a pretty hard road to go. And like I said, that's up to her. Obviously, we're not taking any jabs, right? We're not taking any of that stuff. Successfully didn't have to take the big swab test they ram up your nose and whatever. So yeah, there's some definite limits and some definite lines, definitely. But the people have decided, the people have spoken, and the people have said, we want to wear the mask. The people have spoken. They're not rising up. They're not doing anything. So this is the time where you just kind of wait for all those people to quietly pass away after their jab and give us all more parking spots and free up the roads. Right? So just bide your time for a little bit. Bide your time. Save JT says, making a mask that looked like a fishnet. Yes. If I ever had to wear one, that's what I would buy. And if they gave me any crap, I would say this is the most high-tech and advanced mask you can possibly get. And they would believe me because people are dumb. Yes, yes. Save JT, where when to get groceries? That's like the only store that you see people that aren't. Well, that and the hardware store in my town. The gas stations, the customers don't, but all the people that work there do. Yeah, they don't tell you that, though, on the old local news, do they, Dom? Dom Houston says there are protests in countries that are doing the lockdown thing, and they're going on right now. Yeah, they've been going on for weeks. The old deal. I wonder why the television didn't tell me that Germany's burning down. Why didn't they tell me that? Why didn't they tell you? Why didn't the old television tell you about that? All of that China's been mining Bitcoin like crazy, and Russia's mining Bitcoin like crazy. It's almost like the economy is going to collapse, and everyone's buying up gold with their fake money and buying Bitcoin and mining Bitcoin. I wonder why the television didn't tell me that and didn't mention that the US late to the game is just now trying to start mining in Texas for Bitcoin. I wonder why the government would suddenly take such a keen interest in mining their own cryptocurrency. Could it be that's the only thing that they could trade with? Could it be when the dollar is defunct and zero? Do your own research on that. I'm just saying, the dollar is guaranteed to fail. So you can, if you want investments and things, you go into gold or you go into silver. But unfortunately, an only way to buy gold and silver is through certificates that are counterfeit money, right? They say they have silver and gold, but you don't know that. They already are manipulated the market so much that they know they sold 300 times more silver than has actually ever been mined. And then you go, oh, that's no problem. I'll buy a physical bar of silver. So that's $50 for a physical ounce of silver. But if you buy a paper ounce of silver, it's 25. So yeah, the whole economy is messed. And, you know, like I said, and I've been saying it for a year, understand where your dependencies are, because everybody's got them. Your dependencies on the government system and what would really hurt if it was taken down, and plan for that. Okay. What can you do? You don't have to go out and buy $2,000 for 2 years or 7 years worth of food and all this stuff. No. Buy a freezer so you can store more food. How about that? You know, put that on your list or something. Just have it on your mind and understand where you're just, I mean, everyone's got the power problem, right? Does everybody have their own solar network? Does everyone have their own windmills put up in their backyard? Everyone's got the power problem. Internet, how much do you need the internet? You know, it's no, it's going to be an interesting times, and I'm having a great time, you know, watching it all play out, because I'm going to be all right either way. My faith is at the point where I'm pretty unshakable. So, what kind of a test does God have for me today? Oh, let's see what we got going. Let's see what I can do. Let's see what I can learn about, right? That's just the way that I look at things. And a lot of people, that's really going to tick a lot of people off. And as to make those people feel better, I am been through the coals and come out the other side over a long period of time, you know, ever since I was kind of a little kid. So don't think that this is like overnight, or I'm just always been this way, or whatever. It's just, you know, I know where I'm going. This is, you know, sort of like the kind of thing that I was built for. You know, I'm good at a lot of things, or I should say I'm capable of a lot of things. I'm not real good at them, right? I'm capable of building something out of wood. I'm not real good at it. I'm okay a guitar player despite playing for 30 years. I'm not a super fantastical guy in music, you know, but I can do it. I know my way around computers a little bit. I'm not building any quantum processors, but I know what I'm doing, you know? So I'm kind of like built for this time where you never know what kind of a hurdle you're going to overcome. And that to me is like, makes me feel good every time I overcome a hurdle. And you got to give yourself recognition for when you do, and praise to God for helping you out. All the time I'm working on something where an idea pops into my head how to solve the problem before me. And it's like, I didn't come up with that. That was a gift of God. He probably saw I was going to hurt myself doing it the way I wanted to do it. Right. Yeah. DLC for Christ, take it easy. Yeah, I'm going to have to go too, I think. I've been kind of rambling on all the way over everything except for what my topic was on. That's what happens when I don't have anyone up here to talk to. I don't have anyone on here I haven't had anyone on my channel in a long time, actually. Maybe we get Jeremy on, we could talk some flat earth or something. California, East Coast, Maine with Brian Dudley. Oh no. Save JT here with Brian. Oh no. All right. Well, that's what I've got, guys. That's what I've got. Everyone take care, including you, Michael 412, who wants to give me crap. Dilly Gill. Yeah, I think we've got everything. So yeah, anyways, you know, the world isn't, I would say like the world isn't fair is one way to look at it, but it's like, no, the world is fair and everyone's given different things and different assets and different things to overcome. You know, you might think of like somebody else is like, why would this person even think it's such a big deal that somebody stepped on their toe? It's like, it's just a toe. It only hurts for a second. Well, you don't know what kind of upbringing that they had and what's going through their mind. Maybe to them, it's a serious trauma, right? Everyone has their own hurdles and everyone has their own stuff. If you don't actually make any attempt at all to overcome your little hurdles and your little difficulty, you're going to be the one that God's going to be like, well, what? You know, you buried the talents that I gave you and you didn't do anything with them. So you don't want to be that person, right? You don't want to be that person. You want to go out and do something. Start with one thing on a list, one thing constructive, very small. I made coffee or I stopped coffee, right? I drink way too much coffee. So like, instead of 11 pots of coffee, I'll make 10 pots and I'll put that on a list. I'm like, I survived today with 10 pots of coffee. Hurrah. Right? Something small. Dropped a book off at the donation box, right? Small. And that's how we go. All right, Michael, 412. Yeah, we'll see you in the next one. And all right, guys, I think with that, we're going to be out of here. The next one we're going to be talking about, I'm already kind of going through it, is Jesus God? Because I've been hearing this a lot lately in a lot of the debates and a lot of the crazy wingnut cult leader guys that decided they're a Christian like 6 weeks ago and now they're a master theologian. Those type of people, right? They're leading people to believe that Jesus never said he was God. Jesus isn't God and all of these things. So I'm either going to do a video or a stream about that, where I go through the Bible and say, well, you know, they were trying to stone Jesus here and he escaped. Why did they do that? Oh, because he said he was God. But all right, you know, I don't know quite as much as a guy who was saved 6 weeks ago. So anyways, we're going to talk about that. And maybe if I get some other input on here, we can talk about crowns in heaven and come back to this discussion, because I couldn't flesh it out too much on my own, because I'm just kind of a dum-dum when it comes to like, why would somebody want to do that? I try to, I'm the kind of a person now, and I didn't always used to be this way, where I celebrate success. Oh, praise the Lord, celebrate success. Wow, we did it. And then in my failings, I'm like, I'll do better next time. And then let it go. Because there's no good that's ever going to come of you sitting there going, oh, I remember I messed it up the last time I did it. I didn't even try anymore. Why do I even try? I'm never going to get over this problem. People are always going to be wearing masks. The taxes are just never going to stop. It's like, just let it go. Let it go and move on. Do positive, good things. And with that, that's what we got. Everyone take care. God bless. We're going to be out of here.